Never trust anyone within the video game industry. That is a very simple motto that everybody has to follow at this point. All of these analysts say games are doing so amazing and they're topping charts and they're selling tons of copies, but then companies come out and say, actually, this game didn't sell as well as we expected, and that exact situation is now happening with Borderlands 4. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, we all expected Borderlands 4 to come out and for it to at least do okay because there's so much love and nostalgia behind this series, but Borderlands 4 has not gone the way that they expected. The sales were softer than they wanted. They, of course, put it on sale 1 month after release, which infuriated customers. It launched buggy and broken, meaning the scores tanked, and really everything surrounding this game has not been positive. And now we're hearing about how, yes, these sales were not what they expected, even though the Access Media and analysts previously said, oh, it was doing phenomenal. So this article was just published yesterday. It says Borderlands 4 sales were a bit softer than they would have liked due to the PC performance issues, but they're confident that it'll have a long tail, even though just 2 weeks ago, we were hearing that Borderlands 4 was smashing sales in the US, says analysts, and that it was a top dog, and it was doing absolutely great, and we all expected this game to at least sell well. Borderlands has a lot of love and nostalgia and hype behind it, though, of course, they are a company that doesn't care about delivering a high-quality product, and that was a major problem with this game. We heard, per the analyst firm Circana, that Borderlands 4 had Gearbox counting stacks of money, and it was doing phenomenal, and it sold 30% more than Borderlands 3's debut, and it stood as the fastest selling game in the franchise history. But we now know that that really isn't the case. They aren't, as PC Gamer said, quote unquote, counting stacks of money. So this brand new article talks about how Borderlands 4, by most accounts, seems to have landed well. A solid critical reception, including by yours truly in my Borderlands 4 review, and hefty player counts seem to indicate Gearbox has once more put out another old reliable, well, a somewhat reliable, more on that in a moment. This right here proves why you can't trust video game journalists. They're saying that it landed well because they gave it a good review, and that the player counts are also good, when really neither of those are true. So we don't trust video game journalists' reviews at this point, and if you take a peek at what gamers are saying, it's not positive. It is currently sitting at mixed with 36,656 reviews, and there are thousands upon thousands of negatives from people saying it's buggy, it's broken, they need to put out new content and new patches already, and while, yes, the initial player counts were really solid, the all-time peak was 304,398, it has already fallen on Steam down to 17,521 players, and it only just passed 2 months old. That is an absolutely wild claim to make that, oh my gosh, it's doing so great because I reviewed it well and the player counts are solid, when of course gamers were extremely upset and the player counts have already tanked. And sure, this is a single player game, so the counts were eventually going to go down, but it already falling to this is wild to me, especially when Borderlands is known for its endgame content, being able to grind for certain items, get higher grade items. You're supposed to play it kind of long term, as something like Destiny was initially designed for, and wow, has it already gone sideways for them. Now we're hearing that in sales, which were reported to be very solid in the US, haven't quite panned out to the rest of the world, at least if the Take-Two CEOs to be believed in an interview with the game business. It's not all doom and gloom. He said the critical acclaim for Borderlands 4 was superb, and we're really happy with the release. Critical reception and critical acclaim do not matter anymore. Nobody trusts video game journalists, even even normies go to YouTube and go to Twitch and go to X to see what people are saying, because journalists are paid off. Journalists are paid to give solid reviews, and that's why nobody takes them seriously anymore. So if that's the bar for if something is a success or not, wow, it only takes a couple of bucks to make everything a 10 out of 10. Equally, as you know, there were some challenges with the Steam release. No, it wasn't just the Steam release. Every single version that released on every single console had major problems, and you guys delayed the Switch 2 version into 2026 because you know that that's also going to be a nightmare for you. Gearbox has been addressing those challenges and will continue to do so. So in terms of units sold out of the gate, the numbers were a little softer than we would have liked. In the fullness of time, we think it's going to do great. I don't think even half of the people that bought it are going to return if you release DLC. I think we live in an age where if something is not releasing content continuously, it eventually falls off. And that's just the truth of the matter. Even the best story games are talked about, but they're not replayed over and over and over by the majority of their player base. And if it takes you 6 months or a year to release a big round of DLC, it either has to be something as massive and hyped up as, let's say, Shadow of the Erdtree, or else it's still going to fall flat. And of course, I'm not just blaming Randy Pitchford, I'm not just blaming the media, I'm not just blaming the developers. A major problem here is also Take-Two and Strauss Zelnick, because they expected way too much. I mean, if you just take a look at the numbers that clearly sold on Steam, the owner estimations is roughly 2 million, and that's not even considering other consoles and other platforms. Let's just estimate, for argument's sake, that the 2 million copies were sold at $70, and I know it's already gone on sale, you've already been able to get it at a discount, but let's put that aside for a minute. That would be roughly $140 million on Steam alone. So they probably expected this game to make them like $700-800 million, and it probably made them like 300 million, because I can't expect this game to have sold 7 or 8 million copies initially. They would certainly be boasting about that, but either way, they did probably over-expect, and then it under-delivered because their expectations were too high. So this problem of the sales being softer than they would have liked is also on the company. I think everybody is to blame here, and I personally think that this is hilarious. I love to see gamers proven right, that we can't trust analysts, that we can't trust the charts that they release that says something is super successful even though they're not giving us numbers. I think that it is important that you actually pay attention to the statements that they're making. And the statement here is, yeah, this game isn't doing as well as we thought. It also says that it's surprising, despite the fact that Borderlands 4 glued them to it for dozens of hours, they found themselves wrestling with constant performance hitches and some truly atrocious UI design. Yeah, because it's not a great game. It's just that simple. They're not going to fix the UI. They're not going to fix all of the bugs. I don't even know when they're going to release new content. Like, you are sitting here saying, oh my gosh, it was so phenomenal, even though a lot of other people completely disagree. And when you're sitting here saying it's phenomenal, you're also admitting that it had major issues, and I hope that they do fix it. I hope that they are able to turn this around for the millions of people that bought this, but I just don't necessarily see that happening, because we know that companies are lazy, and we know they've already gotten your money, and they really don't care. Look at what happened with Monster Hunter Wilds. That sold millions and millions and millions and millions of copies out of the gate. They haven't done any major content updates. They've been trying to fix the game, but every time they fix one thing, they break 5 more, and they don't really care about the feedback that they've gotten. So Borderlands 4 isn't doing as well as the media had led us all to believe. Imagine my shock. Wow, the media lying in order to protect a product. Never seen that happen before. But now the Take-Two CEO was saying he's confident it'll have a long tail, even though it didn't do the numbers they expected. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.